This screencast is looking at what are the impacts of international migration. Over this topic of population, we've been looking at how population changes due to birth rates and death rates. However, population will also change with people moving into an area or moving out of an area. So that's what the whole screencast can be about, migration, moving from one place to another. There are a number of key terms that we need to know and understand. Push and pull factors is the first. People move home for many different reasons, and they are either push factors, things that are negative that make you want to move away from a place, in other words, push you away, or they are pull factors, they are the good things, the things that are attractive in a particular area that makes you want to go to that area, so they pull you to that area. Migration is the movement of people from one permanent home to another, and as it says on the definition here, with the intention of staying at least a year. And the move can be within a country, so from one place to another, so national migration, so say you moved from Darlington to, Blackpool, that would be an example of national migration because you're moving within the same country. Or you can move between countries, so you can move from England and you might decide to move to France. That would be an example of international migration. The host country is the country where migrants settle, so the country where you actually end up. So if we move to France, France would be the host country. The country of origin is the country where the person has moved from. So again, if we were moving to France, the country of origin is England, where we are actually living now. An immigrant is someone who is entering a country with the intention of living there. An emigrant is somebody who is actually leaving the country. So immigrants are people who come in, emigrants are people who go out. Now, of course, if people are moving from one place to another, that has big impacts on the country of origin and the host country, and they can be kind of separated into a number of different categories. First of all, economic. Migrant workers often send money back to their country of origin to help their families. So when they move to a new country, they send money back to their families in the old country. So that means that money leaves the host country, which is a disadvantage, but the country of origin benefit enormously by receiving that money. Housing. Finding accommodation can be difficult for migrants in the UK. Some have been helped by social services. That causes resentment, as you see a lot in the news from UK citizens who feel they are being treated as second-class citizens in their own country, that these migrants are getting kind of benefits that they don't get. Now, the demand for housing has grown immensely in the UK during the early 21st century, and that's been fueled by these high levels of migration, lots of people coming in, and the demand for housing is greater than the actual supply. That's led to property prices rising quickly in the early 2000s, and immigration has actually contributed to it. There's an impact on labour and skills. Migration brings labour and skills, and the economy of the UK and the EU have grown as a result. Most migrants are more successful than they would have been at home, although some are less fortunate. Exploitation does happen. Not everyone earns as much as they had expected, so they think they're going to get lots of money when they come here, and they don't get as much as they thought. Tragedies have occurred when gangmasters, who often control large numbers of workers in agriculture and shellfish harvesting, have been negligent. The deaths of 23 Chinese cockle pickers in Morecambe Bay in February 2004 was perhaps the worst example of this happening. As I say, often we talk about these people coming in, but they bring skills with them and are often willing to do jobs in this country that our own people aren't willing to do. They bring a social impact. Too many migrants can be a burden. Schools taking many immigrant children may be under pressure. British parents sometimes feel this reduces opportunities for their own children because teachers are too busy with those whose first language is not English. On the other hand, cultural mixing is often seen as a positive as long as racial prejudice does not become a problem. So let's have a look at some examples of people who've actually moved into our own country. So we're looking at migration into the UK. This is Jana Susenikova. She came to the UK in 2002 with her Czech boyfriend. She was only 18 at the time, and he was a little bit older. She worked as a domestic cleaner. As you can see on the photograph there, she's obviously cleaning, undercutting the level of local women charged by at least £1. So she was charging less than the people who were already doing the job in this country by £1. She had enough work to keep busy for 6 days a week, so she worked for 6 days during the week, and her boyfriend was a mechanic and an odd job man, and his job provided accommodation for them. Now, late in 2007, Jana returned home to Slovakia. Her boyfriend had already left to find a job in the Czech Republic, where the growing economy offered increasing opportunities for skilled people. While in the UK, what they've done, they've managed to save enough money to buy materials and labour to build a 4-bedroom house in the Czech Republic, giving them an excellent start to their married life. Jana's English had become fluent, so she quickly found a well-paid job where she used it every day. So Jana benefited from coming to this country, built up an amount of money that allowed her to go then back to where her boyfriend came from and actually set up a really nice life for themselves. So what are the kind of push and pull factors that might attract people to a particular place? This table here is obviously from a family in West Africa, so why would they want to move? Well, the father, he's a subsistence farmer. A subsistence farmer is somebody who only grows enough stuff for themselves and their family. And as it says here, crops are unpredictable due to the climate. That means sometimes they'll have enough food, sometimes they won't. And of course, that's going to push people away from that area. He's a part-time fisherman. And again, catches are reducing because of overfishing. Another push factor, pushing them away, that actually his job there isn't particularly good, it's not reliable, and therefore it's pushing them away from that place. The mother is a housewife with limited primary education. The adult son has a secondary education who's completed but would like the chance to go to university or obtain an interesting job. So this here, this sentence, is about, it's a pull factor, it's pulling somebody to a place. If that adult son sees that this particular area has a university, or that's where he can get an interesting job, that attracts them to a place. The daughters, on the other hand, are partway through school and want to get as well qualified as possible. School resources are sometimes in short supply. So the fact that the school resources are in short supply, that's a bad thing. It's pushing them away. So as you can see, this whole African family have a range of push and pull factors that make them want to move from the area that they're currently in. This graph shows us the number of Eastern European people who've migrated to the UK in the year 2007. And as we can see here down the left hand side, there are countries where they've come from. Along the bottom, the number of applicants. And there's obviously one clear winner in terms of the number of people coming in, where Polish people, over 250,000 Polish people applied to come to the UK in the year 2007, far exceeding any other, 5 times more. If you look here, the next biggest is Lithuania, about 50,000. So about 5 times as many people come from Poland as any other Eastern European country. Now, since 2004, 1.5 million Eastern Europeans have actually entered the UK, and 2/3 of them are actually Polish. Most have found formal jobs with much better pay than they would receive at home, which is obviously a pull factor. It's the reason why they're coming. Polish workers in the UK earn an average 5 times as much as they would have done living in Poland. And while the UK cost of living is only twice that in Poland, it means that they're much better off. Most migrants pay tax, which contributes to the UK economy. However, some work in the informal economy, working for cash and not paying tax. Polish workers also use UK health and education services, which add to the government's costs. Overall, the UK economy has benefited from the influx of migrants from Poland. Poles are now the most numerous of foreign nationals in the UK. There are about 545,000 Polish passport holders living in the UK, compared to 75,000 back in the year 2003, the year before Poland joined the EU. So what kind of jobs do the Polish people do when they're actually in the UK? Well, this data is taken from 2008, and as you can see, the most popular job is in administration, business and management with 33%. Other popular things, hospitality and catering, farming, down at number 3, agriculture, 10%, manufacturing, so working in factories and so on, 8%, working in the health service, 6%, food processing, 5%, in retail, so in shops and so on, 5%, in construction, so building things, 5%, and then 6% of Polish people are doing other jobs other than those things.